Alright, so my next response is for Anderson is God, and he says, "Yo, widow, is the feeling of the trip unexplainable? Like, why did you cry and pee yourself? Was it pain? Was it emotional? Or is it just impossible to explain with words?" I actually don't remember most of what happened, like in my mind, if that's really where it happened. I can tell you that it started when I was looking at a chick's shirt, and she had mushrooms all over her shirt, but one of the mushrooms was centered in the shirt, and the other ones were started to go zow, zow, zow by me, like I was traveling through some space dimension made of her shirt and mushrooms. And I realized at that point that I was beginning to lose it. And one of the things that you never want to do when you're having a very intense psychedelic experience is to become anything but an observer, or to try and fight this thing. And by observer, I mean you can make it through some mind-bending, crazy hallucinations by being an observer, by just saying, I'm detached from this and I'm just watching, systems check, my heart's working, I'm breathing, so clearly, I might be in an alien realm right now, but I'm still alive, so, let's just ride this thing out. But unfortunately, that doesn't always work, because it's hard to be detached. You have to be extremely intelligent. You have to have had a few experiences like this to even realize what's happening. So what I did was I tried to fight this thing. I tried to say, oh my God, I'm losing control. I need to get back to what I know. I don't want to die. And that's definitely the first thing I thought, was that I'm dying right now. And I looked at my buddy and said, I just poisoned myself, man. And my buddy was very experienced in mushrooms, and he knew immediately that is not what had happened. And he tried to tell me, you're alright, dude. It's cool. Just relax, not in those words, but next thing I know, people are coming around, because this was a house party, and then he explains to them, my buddy's having a bad time, and now these people all go, I think he's beginning to have a bad trip. That was it, man. That was when I lost it. And I was no longer in that room anymore. People started to become kind of cartoony, I guess you could say. And pretty soon, they weren't even there anymore. I was somewhere else, in my own mind, and everything's melting and coming together and breathing and geometric insano patterns, and it was a mix between like an intensely, you could say, some kind of eros, some high, which is like one part sexual and another part intensely scary, and another part fear, and another part anger, but my body was done. I was rolling on the ground. I think I bit into a couch pillow, and ripped some fluff out of it, and who knows what the fuck I was doing. And luckily I was around friends, because if I hadn't been, things could have gone very badly for me. Maybe someone could have called the cops. Maybe somebody could have taken advantage of me somehow, taken my wallet out. If they were extra mean, they might have drugged me out in the back and fucked around with me, kicked me in the face or something. Who knows? People are untrustworthy generally. So the fact that this happened to me while I was around friends is very lucky. So yeah, I'm not sure sure what it was. It was fear, definitely fear, and definitely fear of dying, and that I just wanted to get back to the way things were normally, and that is how that's a guaranteed, that is the guaranteed set of ingredients to have a bad trip, is to, number one, fight it, and to, number two, want to get back to where you were, or to think you're dying. I've had a few trips like that where I thought I was dying or dead, and all I wanted was to get back, and it was all downhill from there. So yeah, it's a terrifying thing. He says, and why is it almost every person I hear that talks about it say you see things and you feel things? Is there an exact thing that you see? No. That's what suggests to a lot of people that this is purely psychological. I mean, because people do see different things on mushrooms. People have a shared experience with DMT, and we can talk about that later, but in general with hallucinogens, except for DMT, people don't usually see the same things. Some people don't see anything at all. It's just a body high, a brain fuck, where I've heard it, I don't remember the words, and I wish that I had the information in front of me right now, but I've heard it said that what hallucinogens do is they intensify the amazing response in your brain, that some novelty is way more than it is. Imagine a machine that makes you a Joe Rogan machine, where everything in the world is a hyperbole, right? So when somebody throws a crumpled up piece of paper into the garbage can, that's the most amazing thing you've ever seen, okay? And that's how everything is. I remember I've sat for 40 minutes looking at a bug in a flower and thinking, my God, what have I been doing with my whole life that I have missed this, and that's what it is. It's stuff that the things that you take for granted in your life become amazing. And everything does. You get a completely new outlook on your existence and the existence of everything around you. There's also audio hallucinations. I've heard things. I've heard people talking. You hear things in your head. I had a really intense, crazy experience where I had to walk from the coast to Portland, and I was doing it at night, and I was fearing cars driving by, so I was hiding in the woods and doing all this. But as I was walking over this mountain pass, I could hear something stomping around in the woods, and it sounded like a gigantic deer, which clearly it wasn't, but I thought it was like a gigantic elk, carnivorous elk meat-eating deer that was going to come out and fuck my ass up, and I was very afraid. But you also hear other things. When you try to go to sleep after hallucinating, a lot of people hear the same thing, which sounds like a spring going off in your head. It goes doing, like you hear stuff like that. Intense audio hallucinations, and it's very hard to sleep coming down from these things. I'm just real curious about this topic because I know it's impossible for me to get my hands on them in this country. What country are you in? That would be my first question for you. And the whole DM thing, really what Joe Rogan makes it out to be, or is it overrated? DMT is as real as it gets. It doesn't get any crazier than that. You can be very, very experienced with hallucinogens and then fuck with some DMT and have your shit split in half. Like, that's all, Anybody who says DMT wasn't that great didn't do enough. That's the bottom line. Because this stuff is, you can add to it and you will experience some paradigm shifting things. And we'll talk about DMT later. And what the fuck is die from astonishment? Die from astonishment means that when you are seeing this shit, it is so impossible, it is so wild, that your heart is just dang, 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 dang. I mean, you feel like you are having a systems overload. And people do. If you've ever read the book DMT, The Spirit Molecule by Richard Strassman, he has some very close calls with some people who have hyper blood pressure and issues like that. So it's as physical as it is mental in many cases. And I hope that answers your question. And I'll get to you, Coach, in my next video.